Hello, here we are at the end. At the end of Visioneering, chapter 18, the leader's mandate to stay fully engaged and act boldly. And you guys, that's a big deal these days because we live in an era of distraction. The phone in your hand all the time, news, communication, social media. It is very easy to be distracted. And distractions don't have to be negative things, they can be positive things too. But if they're not in line with what you're supposed to be paying attention to that minute, they become a distraction. Distracting you. We track numbers, right? You're tracking yourself towards your perfect start, your power start, your pearls, to your star, to your car, to your seminar year end goals. You get distracted, off track, and then you get disappointed. And that's scary because if God's called you to something, you're appointed to it. And that requires that you stay fully engaged. You choose that. That's not someone else's responsibility. They cannot do it for you, and God will not do it for you. So to stay fully engaged and to act boldly. I love how he ends it up. He says, if God has given you a vision for a ministry or a business enterprise of some kind. And what I love with ours is that I love that we can want to impact women and children, but we don't have to come up with the whole business plan. I mean, there's so many women that their legacy, and that I'd encourage you to watch that last piece from my fall retreat when the 6 trip directors were sharing what they want their legacies to be. Um, they didn't come in to Mary Kay thinking maybe necessarily that this was the railroad track for their legacy of their life to be, but it has turned into that because all 6 of them said something different, but their Mary Kay vehicle has been a railroad track to that. Isn't that amazing? That happens to so many of us. But if God has given you a vision for a ministry or a business enterprise of some kind, don't be content to let things drift in a direction other than the one God birthed in your heart in those early days. And I am so very grateful that Mary Kay did not drift. She could have drifted and just retired and not worked anymore. But she decided to start this company, I believe, by God's direction. Otherwise, I don't think it could have not just survived through this last 62 years, but thrived worldwide. I mean, think of it. Gosh, no, there was no cell phones, no internet, no AI, none of the stuff, no pandemics, none of the stuff that we have dealt with. And the company is still here. This mission is still here for us to serve people through this product and this opportunity. So he birthed it in her heart. She started this, and then a week before it launched, her husband dies. That would have been a real easy time to say, okay, well, you know what? Like, maybe I should listen to my accountant and my attorney. Maybe I should listen to fill in the blank, and not do it because that's my life savings. And women couldn't get their hands on any other money back in the 60s. A husband or a male had to sign for them to get any money. So she'd be bankrupt. She wouldn't have any more money to live on. She'd be working another job the rest of her life. And so she was not content to let things drift. And there was many other times when she was building this company. Someone from the sales force stole the original formulas and started beauty control and took half the sales force, one of the directors. Yeah, I mean, she could have drifted in a different direction when they went public and the family made tons of money. They used the money to build distribution centers, but they could have just kept this company public and had lots of cash flow and Mary Kay not have to work. Like, don't be content to let things drift in a direction other than the one God birthed in your heart in those early days. That's the story of Nehemiah. Continue to read it and reread it. Continue to read the stories in the Bible that God gives us, that it would have been easy to drift, but they didn't. And how many people did it impact? That's for our courage. That's to when we get distracted and discouraged, to encourage us to get back on track again. Because if you allow yourself to get distracted and drift, and then you get discouraged, and then despair sets in, and that is not a good place to be for a leader. So you guys, thank you. You may have started this process not thinking you're a leader, but maybe you've realized, like Nehemiah, gosh, God's brought you to this point in time for a reason and for a season. And that would be very true, because God doesn't do anything by accident. You are not here by accident. You have not been going through this visioneering by accident. It has something to do with this time period in Mary Kay and this time period in your life that you're in, Mary Kay. And if you're not sure what that is, ask God. God, what do I need to know about this? And he absolutely will reveal it to you. You guys, thank you for being on this journey. I pray it was a blessing and it helped with clarity. It also maybe was a little convicting at times, but also lots of confirmations also. Do know that the best is yet to come, and everything that you learned in here, this is not a one and done book. This is something you'll probably pick up again. Little did I know that the 5 principles that I have based my national area growth on and training on over the last 15 years came from Andy Stanley in Visioneering in chapter 17. And when we were restudying, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's where that came from. So everyone's life gets busy, our journeys get busy, but God really is in control. And now is a really special time in Mary Kay, an important time to be passing it on. Enjoy your conversation.